It is Friday, November 7th, 2025, and here's the latest happenings inside the federal machine. Today, the GOP put a bill on the Senate floor that would allow the military and federal workers to get paid during the government shutdown, which, of course, was blocked by Democrats. Former CIA Director John Brennan, as well as former FBI officials Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, have been subpoenaed as part of the investigation into Russiagate. The Antitrust Division of the Department of Justice is opening an investigation into meat packing companies that appear to be illegally driving up beef prices through price fixing, price manipulation, and collusion. President Trump is once again calling on Senate Republicans to end the filibuster, insisting the senators not leave the Senate until they either reach a deal or nuke the filibuster. A federal court decision was handed down ordering the Trump administration to fully fund SNAP benefits through the end of the month, despite only a partial amount of emergency funds being available. Where will the extra money come from? We'll take a look. And President Trump met with Central Asian presidents at the White House today, where they worked on strengthening economic ties and one country joining the Abraham Accords. And a lot more happened today, so we're just going to dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like if you have just a second to do so, and consider subscribing to the channel. And I do the Swamp Monday through Friday. The videos post typically at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern at the very latest. And every article that you see in the video will be linked in the description below. And I've got this from the New York Post. Ex-CIA Director John Brennan, former FBI officials Strzok and Lisa Page have been subpoenaed as part of the Russiagate probe. And this was just released like minutes ago. Yeah, like 48 minutes ago. So this is hot off the press. And let's dig into this and see what's going on here. So a federal grand jury has subpoenaed former CIA Director John Brennan, former FBI officials Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, among others, as part of the Justice Department's investigation into the origins of the Trump-Russia probe. Fox News Digital has learned. Sources told Fox News Digital Brennan, Strzok, the FBI's former Deputy Assistant Director of Counterintelligence, and Page, a former FBI lawyer, were served with federal subpoenas today. Law enforcement sources told Fox News that up to 30 subpoenas will be issued in the coming days related to the investigation. Holy shit. Let's go, man. The grand jury is out on the Southern District of Florida. U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, Jason Redding Quinones, is supervising the probe. Fox News first reported in July that Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey were under investigation. Comey has been charged with making false statements and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Of course, he has pleaded not guilty, and his trial is expected to begin in January. Dude, you think they're going to live stream it? Probably not. I wouldn't think so. Not if it's in federal court. I highly doubt it, but I could keep my fingers crossed in hopes that they will. And if they do, I'm going to watch every minute of that, but I'm not going to keep my hopes up on that. But we'll see. Anyway, Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz uncovered a series of anti-Trump text messages between Strzok and Page in 2018. Both were assigned to work on special counsel Robert Mueller's team in 2017. Page served on Mueller's team on a short detail, returning to the FBI's Office of the General Counsel in July of 2017. Strzok, though, was removed from the team and was reassigned to the FBI's Human Resources Division. That's Peter Strzok. Let's see. Prior to serving in the special counsel's office, Strzok was a top agent in the Bureau's Counterintelligence Division. Strzok is the FBI agent who, in July 2016, opened the FBI's initial Russia investigation, which was nicknamed Crossfire Hurricane inside the Bureau. I'm sure we're all familiar with that by now. Page resigned from the Bureau in May of 2018, and Strzok eventually was fired in August of 2018. That's Lisa Page, of course. They had an affair. Were they married or were they having an affair? I think them two were hooking up. I'm not sure if they had a relationship. Well, I mean, they did have a relationship. I can't remember if they were an actual couple or if they were just fooling around behind the scenes. Can't remember, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. Strzok was fired from the Bureau in August of 18 after months of scrutiny regarding the anti-Trump text messages exchanged between himself and Page. Yeah, that was during that famous back and forth between Peter Strzok and Trey Gowdy when he was still on the committee, where he was reading out those text messages, and Lisa Page texted Peter Strzok and said, Donald Trump's not really going to become president, is he? And Peter Strzok replied back, no, he won't. We will stop it. Absolutely wild. So I'm sure all that's going to come up in this investigation. During congressional testimony in 2018, Strzok confirmed that he and Page were involved in an extramarital affair. I guess I spoke too soon. So there you go. There's the confirmation. Yep, they were banging. They were absolutely banging. Okay, so that happened. And let's move on to the next thing. From Fox News, breaking Senate Democrats again blocked a Republican bill that would ensure that federal workers and the military would receive paychecks as the government shutdown continues. Let's take a look at this, see what's going on here. This is also posted not even an hour ago, as of this recording at least. Dems blocked GOP bill ensuring federal worker military paychecks continued during the shutdown. Ron Johnson's modified bill included furloughed workers, but was rejected largely along party lines. Of course it was. Let's see. John Kennedy, Dems issued demands to end the government shutdown. That might be interesting to take a look at. We might take a look at that. Senate Democrats again blocked a plan by Republicans to ensure that federal workers and the military would receive a paycheck as the shutdown back and forth revs into high gear. Senator Ron Johnson, Republican of Wisconsin, again tried to advance a modified version of his Shutdown Fairness Act bill that would see federal workers and the military paid now and during subsequent government shutdowns. However, the bill failed 53-43, with 3 Democrats defecting to support the bill. Georgia Senators Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, as well as Ben Ray Lujan of New Mexico, voted for the bill. Last month, it was blocked over concerns from Senate Democrats that it did not include furloughed workers. Well, it sounds like it does now, and they still said nope. Johnson noted on the Senate floor that after the discussions with Senate Democrats, he changed the bill to include furloughed workers and that his legislation had the backing of several federal employee unions. Quote, they are sick and tired being used as pawns in this political dysfunction here. They're tired of it, Johnson said. Still, after fireworks on the Senate floor where Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Republican of South Dakota, and Senator Gary Peters, Democrat of Michigan, who initially blocked the bill over concerns that it allowed President Donald Trump to pick and choose who got paid, the bill was blocked largely along party lines. So anyway, there's a little bit more to read, but that'll be linked if you want to check that out. I think I'm going to give this a watch. Not familiar with this video. I actually didn't see this beforehand, but I mean, they're talking about Democrats issuing demands. I know that we've already heard about the $1.5 trillion. If that's what he gets into, if he's going to get into the $1.5 trillion, I think I'll probably just cut it there, just link the video, and you can check it out on your own time because we're already well aware of the $1.5 trillion, especially if you've been following along with the swamp in the last several weeks. All right, here we go.
As they try to break through this impasse on the longest shutdown of the
Fox
federal
News, this
government.
quality, man. Oh, there we go.
So Democrats are making a list of demands to get the government reopened ahead of their potential 15th vote, which could come at any time now on this Friday afternoon. Listen to what Minority Leader Chuck Schumer proposed just moments ago.
Democrats would like to see an end to this shutdown, and we want to respect Leader Thune's desire not to negotiate on ACA until after the government reopens.
Really?
Therefore, we'd like to offer a simple proposal that would reopen the government and extend the ACA premium tax credits simultaneously.
Nope.
And then have the opportunity to start negotiating longer-term solutions to health care costs.
No, fuck that. No.
Okay, so there you
No,
are.
hell no. No, he didn't change a damn thing. That's exactly what they were proposing before. They want the Affordable Care Act tax credits to be extended, God knows how long, probably 10 fucking years, but that's what they've been demanding this whole time. Let's get the tax credits passed for Obamacare and then jack up the national debt even further, and then maybe we'll open up the government. No, dude, that's been a non-starter since the beginning. I would be really surprised if they take them up on that deal. I would fully expecting them not to. But anyway, let's hear it from Senator Kennedy.
Now he serves on the Budget and Appropriations Committee.
I'm really
Senator
curious
Kennedy,
to get his
welcome.
take on this.
Always good to have you with us. What is your response to Chuck Schumer's proposal here to keep those ACA benefits going for another year? Bipartisan committee to work on those and reopen the government with a clean CR.
God, please give me patience.
Okay.
Because if you give me strength, I'm going to need bail money. What Senator Schumer is suggesting is that we do the dumbest thing possible.
That's about where I thought he was taking this.
Stupid should hurt more. Senator Schumer says we should just extend the status quo for a year. What does that mean?
It means they were going to do the exact same thing all along. Like Chuck Schumer literally offered nothing at all other than, well, how about we just do it for a year? You know, let's give Obamacare a whole nother year so they can continue jacking up the cost of insurance for taxpayers that we're going to have to foot that bill. Anyway, whatever. I'll let it play. I'll quit interrupting.
That means that we would have to take $35 billion of taxpayer money.
$35 billion.
And give it directly to the health insurance companies.
Yeah, that's what it'll do.
Without any commitment of lowering premiums. How is that going to reduce health care costs?
It ain't.
How's that going to reduce premiums? The health care companies are going to take $35 billion from the taxpayers and put it into their pockets. I mean, duh.
Yep, that's what it'll do.
I don't know what Senator Schumer is thinking. Earth to Chuck. Earth to Chuck.
Yeah, okay, so I do have to pause this. So what that would do, so what people are facing right now with the Affordable Care Act, people who are on Obamacare right now, their premiums are going up a lot because the Democrats, they passed these tax credits that started in 2022. Well, frankly, they started many years before that, but this newest round of tax subsidies for Obamacare was passed in 2022 under the Biden administration, and they were extended for 3 years up until November of 2025. That was artificially keeping healthcare costs low for the average American who's on Obamacare. So their premiums, whatever they are, I know it's a big wide range. Some are paying like $400, others are paying like $1,400. It depends on if you're on the platinum plan or if you're on the bronze plan or whatever, depending on your age, if you're a family or individual. So there's a whole bunch of different rates that people are paying. But that 3-year extension kept the rates artificially low by a substantial amount. And once the tax credits expire at the end of November, Obamacare, the cost for Obamacare premiums, Democrats keep saying it's going to skyrocket. Yeah, of course it's going to skyrocket all the way back up to where it's supposed to be, where it has been supposed to be this entire time. We, as in individual Americans who are on Obamacare, we're about to find out exactly how much Obamacare really costs, how much that it has supposed to cost this entire time that it's been out, because I think they've been subsidizing Obamacare since basically day one, haven't they? Going all the way back to like 2009 and 2010. They've had to subsidize it through its entire existence because it's unaffordable. It's an impossible government program. They never should have gotten involved in the healthcare industry, the insurance industry from the get-go. Health insurance was great compared to where it is now back before this bullshit was even passed. And 70% of Americans, before Obamacare was a thing, were happy with their health insurance. Now it's a monstrosity. Chuck Schumer wants to pass another year of subsidies, kicking the can down the road yet again, just to keep it artificially lower, but not low. People are still going to have to pay a lot of money for Obamacare, even if they were to pass this subsidy. But the truth of it is that Americans, they really do need to see how much Obamacare truly costs. And if it's like $3,000 a month for some people, well, so be it. That's how much it costs. If you don't want to pay that much, then get off of it. Go find private insurance somewhere. I mean, there was somebody that left a comment on one of my videos last week. They said they did exactly that. Their Obamacare got so expensive that they decided to just look for health insurance elsewhere, that they were going to pay out of pocket with a private insurer, and they ended up finding something substantially cheaper. I think they said it was half as much as the Obamacare insurance premiums were. So that would be my suggestion. If I were in that boat, that's what I would do. I would go look for insurance elsewhere, but certainly not passing it for an entirely another year, $35 billion. You're out of their freaking minds, man.
Am I going to vote for this? The short answer is no.
Good.
The long answer is hell no. I think we're just going to have to get used to the fact that we've been in a shutdown. We're going to be in a shutdown for a while. I voted 14 times to.
I'm telling you, man, this is going on till next year.
Lift the shutdown. The Democrats and Senator Rand Paul have voted 14 times to keep the government shut down. We're just going to be here for a while.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like what Senator Schumer just proposed is really any different than what
it's
Democrats
not.
have
That's
been
the point.
all along. They wanted $1.5 trillion. You say
Yep.
$36 billion. I guess there's a lot of different numbers on this package, but to keep the Obamacare benefits were expanded. during COVID.
Yep.
And of course,
only
once
because
you
of
give
COVID,
something very hard
which
to
is
claw
over,
it back. So that's
which is why they're expiring.
Where we are right now.
COVID's over.
And so the impact is of having that extension pulled away is making people's new healthcare benefits rise. But as you say, it's not fixing the problem in terms of lowering costs.
It really isn't. It's not.
I just spoke with the former Governor Sununu.
The taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill.
What they need to do is accept Senator Thune's next proposal and agree on it and get Democrats across the board on it. What do you think that is going to look like?
He's just going to bring up the same resolution that he's brought up 14 times. Look, if we've learned anything during this shutdown, we've learned that the Obamacare Affordable Care Act exchanges, they're not working. They're not lowering health care costs. Extending the status quo will just be putting fresh paint on rotten wood.
So
Why would we want to do that?
Excuse me. President Trump has a solution, and he talked about it again today. Watch this.
Oh, yeah, we know.
I am totally in favor of terminating the filibuster.
The filibuster.
And we would be back to work within 10 minutes after that vote took
I'd like to know what
place.
Senator
We
Kennedy's
pass
take
if
is on
we,
that. If
terminated
he's in
the
support of it.
filibuster.
I don't think a lot of
Voter
Republicans are in
ID,
support of that, though.
No mail-in voting, no cash bail, no men and women's sports, no welfare for illegals. You could go on and on.
Yep, all of
You're
that could
saying
get
you have
passed
to
if they nuke
embrace
the
it, you have to
filibuster.
go
That's
for
where
the
he's getting
fact
at.
that you have the House, the Senate, and the White House, and think about the things that you could get passed if
Oh,
you're willing
a
to do
shitload.
this. Are you willing to vote to eliminate the filibuster, Senator?
Well, President Trump has made his position, at least to me, abundantly clear. I talked to him this morning. He makes a persuasive argument, but here's in essence what he's going to say, or what he has said rather. None of us want to get rid of the filibuster, but the Democrats are going to do it as soon as they're back in charge, so we might as well do it now. My response to the president this morning, after listening politely, was, well, the quickest way, the best way to prevent all that is let's don't put the Democrats back in charge. There's no guarantee that the Democrats are going to take over the Senate.
Oh, dude, that's still risky, though, man.
The filibuster only.
Okay, yeah, but dude, if we don't put them back in power, if the American people don't let Democrats take over the Senate again, how would that make any difference whether the filibuster gets nuked or, like, if you nuke the filibuster and the Democrats don't get back in power, how does that hurt you? That still doesn't hurt the Republican Party at all. It really doesn't, because the Democrats are not in power, so they can't railroad all types of shit through, which is what Republicans are worried about if they take power back. But if they don't take power back, it doesn't make any difference. At least I don't think so.
It doesn't pertain to the House. So to keep the Democrats from doing that, we just hold the Senate, which...
That's a ridiculous argument.
Well, that's going to be a big
ridiculous
project,
argument.
obviously, for Republicans for the next 18 months. Senator Kennedy, thank you very much.
Oh man, that's frustrating. You let me down, Senator Kennedy.
Friday afternoon.
That is not what I want to hear. So he's not interested in nuking the filibuster. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't think so. But I bet Trump's absolutely right. If Senate and Senator Kennedy knows that. He knows if Democrats get back in, they're absolutely going to nuke the filibuster. And I mean, you might as well do it now, because that's a pretty big risk just to hold the filibuster in place, expecting Democrats to not get back into power. A lot of shit could change between now and the midterms. Republicans look pretty good as far as not losing the Senate, but we don't know what's going to happen over the next year or so. And plus, if they nuke the filibuster and Senate Republicans retain the Senate, couldn't they just re-implement the filibuster? Can they just put it right back into place again? Or would something like that absolutely require a 60-vote deal? I mean, maybe it would. That might be why. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not sure. I did play a video from Marjorie Taylor Greene last night. She said Republicans need to get their version of the healthcare, whatever bill that they're working on, out into the public eye so we can all see what Republicans plan to do, even if it's repealing Obamacare. I mean, whatever it might be, we need to see what the Republicans' version is, because according to Marjorie Taylor Greene, they haven't come out with anything, at least nothing that she's seen. So honestly, not sure as far as that goes. But speaking of Marjorie Taylor Greene, I do have this from The View. I was kind of hesitant on playing it. I think I'm going to play that tomorrow. I'm going to save this for the weekend. It came out 2 days ago, so it's kind of old news at this point. But yeah, they were talking about releasing the Epstein files and all that shit. So I think that's something I can save for the weekend. But yeah, it is something that I got on my plate. I actually meant to play it last night, and I just kind of overlooked it, to be honest. But that's all right. So we'll just move on to the next thing from Newsmax. Numbers show young women are backing far-left soft-on-crime candidates in the droves, and many of those same women will go through life admitting they don't feel safe, says Carl Higbee. That is the mindset of modern liberal women. Let's take a look at this.
Women voters. 84% of women under 30. 65% of women 30 to 34 voting blue. 81% of women
a lot of them are
for
brainwashed, brain dead.
They can't even tell you why they voted
Wearing
for
their
him.
septum piercings, tattoos.
You know how you feel about Zoran winning?
Blue hair, pink hair.
I'm happy about it.
Why are you happy about it?
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, dude, like, I bet if you watch like an hour of him just going up from young lady from one to the next, you just ask them just like the most basic ass questions, they'll say, oh, I don't know. That's what my friends are voting for. That's what my, college professors told me to vote for.
I don't really know. I just do.
They don't have a clue.
Yeah,
They're brain dead. They're politically brain dead.
Partying and clubbing, and honestly, he's like one for the people, you know?
That's why you support him?
Yeah.
I don't know. Enjoy your bread lines.
Insane.
80% of
yeah,
young
no
women
shit.
voted in New Jersey for Cheryl. 78% voted for Spanberger in Virginia. These, in large part,
they have
are the
no
same
idea what they're
women
doing.
that will stand out there and tell you, I don't feel safe, while casting a ballot for the guy who just promised to empty out the prisons and that violence is a social construct.
You can't make this shit up.
We've even found as legislators, when we go into these courts, the term violent crime is even used when people are stealing packages. Violent crime is even used when people are accused of burglary and there happens to be a housing unit in that same dwelling. So violence is an artificial construction.
This is another thing that Republicans have sat idly by on, too. The left has turned women against strong male figures.
They absolutely have. They pitted women against men
and not
a while ago.
Making anyone who criticizes Democrats, they're mean and racist, and women don't want to do that.
We got to be strong and independent.
When one of these women is in danger originated by and is driven in large part by the stupid policies that they vote for, those same liberal women will absolutely call someone like me or someone else that's alpha.
Misogynist,
they need to be
racist,
defended. And when
white
those men
supremacist.
do defend them, once they're safe and sound, of course, they turn around and they put them on trial.
Daniel
like
Penny.
They did with
Yep,
Daniel
there
Penny.
he is, Daniel Penny.
That is the mindset of
Perfect
the modern
example.
liberal women. This is why I hate liberal women. This is why I say liberal white women are the biggest threat to America. They will literally vote
I
for their
100%
own
agree with that.
and take everyone down with them. The left is
and I don't entirely fault them for it. They're just
self-hate
brainwashed.
By telling them, in large part in our educational system, that the feminist model
large
of
part.
we don't need a man is the gold standard to such an extent that they have Stockholm syndrome and will reflexively vote 80% for the people literally marching their safety off of a cliff.
It's crazy, dude. Like, I could get really far in the weeds on that. Would you choose the bear or would you choose the man in the woods? All those young liberal women are going to go with the bear, even though the bear will absolutely rip your face off and tear your freaking abdomen open and eat you while you're still alive, because the bear don't give a shit. Bear's hungry. All right, whatever. I don't want to get hung up on that. I just came across it today and just felt, I just thought it was worth sharing. But anyway, we'll move on to Secretary Brooke Rollins. Let's get to work. And she's responding to AG Pamela Bondi. Our investigation is underway. My Antitrust Division, led by AAGS Slater, who is Abigail Slater, Assistant Attorney General for Justice ATR under the leadership of AG Pam Bondi, has taken the lead in partnership with our friend Secretary Rollins at USDA. And this is from Donald J. Trump's True Social. I have asked the DOJ to immediately begin an investigation into the meat packing companies who are driving up the price of beef through illicit collusion, price fixing, and price manipulation. We will always protect our American ranchers, and they are being blamed for what is being done by majority foreign-owned meat packers who artificially inflate prices and jeopardize the security of our nation's food supply. Action must be taken immediately to protect consumers, combat illegal monopolies, and ensure these corporations are not criminally profiting at the expense of the American people. I'm asking the DOJ to act expeditiously. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And there we have it. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, they will get the prices of beef down. Absolutely, because it is ridiculously expensive. It has been since COVID, and it's not come down nearly as much as it really ought to. Okay, so moving on to Kelly Loeffler. Grateful for the partnership in ending this shell game. So what is that? Let me first start with Secretary Scott Bessent with the Treasury. President Trump has directed his administration to eliminate fraud and waste wherever it occurs, ensuring that each taxpayer dollar is spent as intended. Treasury will not tolerate fraudulent misuse of federal contracting programs. These initiatives must benefit legitimate small businesses that deliver measurable value to the government and the public. And this is on WSJ. I believe I'm going to get paywalled, so I might take a second and see if I can find this elsewhere if it does. And yeah, it looks like it's going to. No biggie. I'll do this. Let me just try my backup plan first, because I believe that happens successfully with the Wall Street Journal. Let's take a look. See if I can make this happen. Perhaps not, but we'll take a look. Let's see. Treasury probes. All right, I'm going to copy that just in case. All right, so the Treasury probes contract program tied to about $9 billion in small business deals. The department is looking into whether companies have misused special programs meant to benefit small businesses. Oh, yeah, it did. So the Treasury announced on Thursday an investigation into small business government contracts worth about $9 billion and whether federal programs have been used fraudulently. Now, this might actually be an exclusive. I bet it probably, yeah, it is. See, it's an exclusive, so it's not going to, I don't think it's going to make any difference if I search for it or not, but that's all right. I'll link it. And if you just so happen to be subscribed to them, then you'll be able to peruse that article at your leisure. Although, I did the next best thing. Let me actually just get out of this. And over here on Google, just figured I'd take the AI overview and we'll get some of the information out of this. The Treasury Department has launched an investigation into 9 billion small business government contracts to determine if companies have fraudulently misused preference-based programs like the Small Business Administration's 8A program. The probe was prompted by concerns including a recent O'Keefe Media Group investigation from James O'Keefe that firms may be using pass-through schemes to divert lucrative work to ineligible companies, and follows an earlier audit directive from the Small Business Administration. What the investigation is about: examining misuse of programs. The investigation will look into whether companies have abused government programs designed to help small, socially and economically disadvantaged businesses. Also focus on pass-through schemes. A key concern is the potential for fraudulent pass-through schemes where larger ineligible companies use 8A qualified firms as a middleman to gain government contracts. Another one, triggered by prior findings, the probe was influenced by an O'Keefe Media Group investigation that exposed potential fraud and is supported by an earlier audit directive from the Small Business Administration. Large sum involved. The investigation covers about $9 billion in contract value, and it aligns with administration priorities. The Treasury Department stated the probe is in line with the administration's priorities to eliminate fraud and abuse in federal contracting. And it looks like, oh, okay, see, it looks like Bloomberg's got it. But does Bloomberg paywall, though? That's the big question. Are they going to paywall? They probably are, because I think they do. Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. Why wouldn't they? What about Baton Rouge Business Report? Let me take a look. This one might not. It might not paywall. Read the full story. Let's take a look. Because I'll link. Oh, damn it. See, there it goes. It links you right back to the paywall. All right, whatever. But we got the gist of it. You know, maybe just for shits and giggles, I'll just put in the business report link in the description below as well. And we'll move on to the next thing. Oh, no. Hold on. Okay, so anyway, here's the response from Kelly Loeffler with regard to this investigation. She says, grateful for the partnership in ending this shell game. Federal contracting set-aside programs based on race have been abused for decades. The SBA is taking action, including a government-wide audit of the 8A program, to stop massive fraud and to safeguard billions in taxpayer dollars. Good deal. Hopefully they'll end all that fraud, waste, and abuse. And moving on to Congressman Randy Fine. Tucker Carlson just called me much worse than Nick Fuentes. I had believed he was just paid off by the Qataris and other enemies of America to parrot this nonsense. Now I wonder if the guy is just really, really, really dumb. Uh-oh. Sounds like a few going back and forth. But he linked this video. Hopefully he didn't chop it up. Hopefully it's just a smooth 2-minute conversation. We'll see where it goes on the Megyn and Kelly show.
Has been, well, yes, platforming. They say that. I don't accept platforming as a valid objection.
When is that a verb, by the way? You take a noun and you make it into a verb and nobody says anything? As a former editor, I say no.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay.
Honestly, but as far as I know, Nick Fuentes hasn't eaten anyone. Jeffrey Dahmer ate people, and he was platformed by Diane Sawyer.
Dude, we have a sitting member of Congress. I spoke to the Speaker of the House about this today. We have a sitting member of Congress from Florida called Randy Fine, who was literally texted or put on Twitter, we should kill them all. Every single one. Someone texted a picture of a dead baby, and he laughs at it. And it's like, this guy's a lawmaker who's appropriating money to a military committing genocide, and that's cool? It's not cool.
No.
And let's just be honest. That is much worse than anything Nick Fuentes has said, period.
So the main pushback has been when you had Jeffrey Dahmer or the Ku Klux Klan, or et cetera, these journalists went after them, exposed the terrible things. And Nick Fuentes has said a long list of very vile things.
Big time, including attacking my dad, which was the most vile of all, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I personally have watched videos of him questioning the Holocaust, likening it to baking cookies in the oven, and there's no way you could have gotten to 6 million, seems to be his theory. He seems to think that we've way overstated the number of Jews killed in the Holocaust. He's ripped on poor Usha Vance in the most offensive terms, which I mean, so what do you say to those people? Say, why didn't you raise any of that?
Do your own interview the way that you want to do it. You're not my editor. Buzz off. I mean, I don't know. You want to go yell at Nick Fuentes? I'll give you his cell. Call him and go sit and yell at him and feel virtuous or whatever. That's up to you. I got the same thing with Putin. Why aren't you yelling at him? Okay, why? So I can show that I'm a good person? I care about what my wife thinks, my children think, and God thinks, and that's it. I don't need to prove that I'm a good person to you. You may think I'm a terrible person.
Especially now that he's got
I'm just
FU
doing
money.
my thing, which is I want to understand what people think, and I'm committed to that. And if you don't like it, don't watch. That's my view. Yep. But that doesn't mean that I share the views. I'm not telling Nazi jokes, obviously, or Holocaust jokes. I mean, please.
Yeah, I mean, I got no beef with Tucker Carlson. I used to watch Tucker Carlson tonight. I mean, it was a good show. I used to enjoy watching that. So, yeah, man, some beef going back and forth between Tucker and Randy Fine. All right, getting spicy. All right, so this is from Senator Mike Lee. No more illegal aliens, just robots. And he's replying to Data Republican Small R. And he responded to Elon Musk. I might as well just start with Elon Musk first. And he posted this short video clip saying how it started. And I believe this is the Tesla robot that they're working on. Let's take a look at this real quick. Doesn't look like, yeah, there's no sound. So yeah, before and after. I mean, obviously that's a person. I mean, it's pretty crazy what they're getting at with how advanced these robots are getting. A little frightening in my opinion. I'm not all about this, but I don't know. To each his own. Elon, have you considered that optimists will end every argument for illegal immigration? That's interesting. That's a wonderful thought, but in a typical Democrat fashion of moving the goalposts, they would change their justification narrative to support their agenda of flooding the country with illegal aliens. Yeah, probably. But anyway, here, let me go back. And yeah, he said, no more illegal aliens, just robots. And I said, can my robot work on my behalf and I collect the paycheck? In other words, will robots ever be freed from slavery by the federal government? I don't know, just a random passing thought. Not so sure. I mean, look, if they get advanced enough, I mean, they can already perform menial tasks. They can do household stuff like do your laundry and things like that. I mean, they've been proven to be able to do that. I'm not 100% sure about the Tesla robot. I'm sure he can, or it can. All right, moving on. Senate Republicans. Senate Democrats are fully embracing the new socialist leader of their party. This is a really quick one.
I endorsed Mayor-elect Mondami myself. Sure. I congratulate him on his victory back in the primary, and I've endorsed him in the general election.
But do you think your leader was...
I'm all on board.
Yeah, see, they're all on board. They're all in lockstep. Like I said, it's virtually overnight. Every single Democrat official, every politician who's a Democrat, they're all socialists now. Like they're all full-on communists, basically. I mean, that's where they are. It's just like flipping on a light switch. They're all in lockstep. They've been all in lockstep for over a decade now at this point. So, all right. So anyway, moving on to Senator John Barrasso. Soldiers are working without pay at Fort Benning in Georgia. Where are the two Democrat senators from Georgia? A single mom in Michigan is struggling to put food on the table. Where are the two Democrat senators from Michigan? The costs of the Democrat shutdown continue to grow. Now, to be fair, I believe in one of the initial posts that I read, they talked about how I believe it was at least one, if not both, Democrat senators from Georgia. They actually voted for the allowing pay during a shutdown for the furloughed workers, the military, and so on. But anyway, so this comes from Caroline Leavitt, who is the White House press secretary, and she reposted Donald Trump's Truth Social. The United States Senate should not leave town until they have a deal to end the Democrat shutdown. If they can't reach a deal, the Republicans should terminate the filibuster immediately and take care of our great American workers. I honestly don't think they're going to do it. It would, at this point, I think it would be more beneficial than harmful. Just like what I just previously stated. If Senator Kennedy, by his logic, if they just hold their ground and the Democrats don't take over the Senate again, I mean, what difference does it make if you nuke the filibuster? They're not going to be in charge. So, what difference does it make in that scenario? All right, so moving on. Again, Senator John Barrasso, Chris Murphy from Connecticut, reopening the government would do substantial damage to the Democrats' brand. Their brand means more to Senate Democrats than 42 million hungry Americans, the service members who aren't getting paid, than safety in the skies. America deserves better.
Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, a Democrat with presidential ambitions, he said in an interview just yesterday with Punchbowl News, Senator Murphy said reopening the government would do, he said, substantial damage to the Democrats' brand. There you have it. Bad for the brand of functioning government. Democrat brand means more to them.
There you go.
42
Party over country.
Americans.
Sounds like a communist party to me.
Democrat brand means more to them than military families who aren't getting paid. The Democrat brand means more to them than safety in the skies.
Yeah, I mean, according to Democrats, just hold your ground while blaming the Republicans. That's all they're doing, just doubling down, blaming the Republicans on everything they're already guilty of. The White House, by they, I mean the Democrats, of course. All right, so from the White House, from SNAP to paychecks to flights, every delay, every cut, every paycheck missed is part of their plan. Democrats are playing politics while Americans pay the price. And do we have the article? I don't believe we do. Anyway, end it now. Sorry, kid, I need this for leverage. SNAP benefits, yeah, basically. Let me see. Democrats vow to continue shutdown for the sake of the party's brand. Well, we already got the gist of it from his video, so I'll move on past it. I mean, I would have at least linked it if they had it, but there's a lot to get through, so I'm just going to move on to the next thing. Caroline Leavitt, President Trump and his entire administration, from the NEC to Treasury to USDA, are working hard every day to address the affordability issues created by Joe Biden, who unleashed the worst inflation crisis in modern American history, something the liberal media barely blamed the Democrats for over the past 4 years. In less than 10 short months, President Trump signed the largest middle-class tax cuts in American history, including no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. He also unleashed American energy dominance to help bring gasoline prices back to the lowest in 5 years and lowered energy costs overall, and they will continue to fall. This is very important because we know energy costs are the #1 driver of inflation. He also negotiated most favored nation pricing agreements to lower prescription drug prices with 5 big pharma companies and counting, and also cut 30 regulations for every new one on the books to remove unnecessary red tape and fuel small businesses. Also, wages rising at the fastest pace in 60 years. Also, the cost of the typical new mortgage is down by nearly $3,000 a year. Okay, I mean, I might have an argument on that, but anyway, I'll just move on. So the price of eggs, butter, ice cream, fresh fruit, cereal, fish, seafood, rice, pasta, and ham are all falling. And the best is yet to come. President Trump's pro-growth policies are a proven formula to make America affordable again. They worked in his first term, and they are slowly but surely working now. It's the Democrats' radical policies that create unaffordability. Just look at the cost of living in California and New York. Amen. Trust in Trump. Let's hear it from Trump himself.
Yes, sir. Could you discuss that question that was asked and how it was asked in such a fake, disgusting manner by the fake news?
Yeah, and I just saw it asked again here, and it's very unfortunate that the reporters in this room refused to address, sir, what you just said, which is that you inherited the worst inflation crisis in modern American history, and you are fixing it in 10 short months. And your entire administration has been tasked with this effort, from Treasury Department to Agriculture Department to the National Economic Council right here at the White House. They are slashing regulation. He signed the largest middle-class tax cut in 6 months. in 6 months in record time, putting more money back into the American people's pockets. So affordability is what the...
I already see how the Democrats are going to spin that. Oh, you signed the largest tax cut that we've had in 6 months. Oh, wow, 6 months, big deal. That's not... No, dude, like within 6 months. Not the biggest tax cut over the course of 6 months.
The American people,
but you know they're going to spin it that way.
And he is doing it, and you guys refuse to cover it, and you refuse to cover that the previous administration created the worst unaffordability crisis in American history. And I've been watching the TV all day saying that he doesn't want to talk about affordability. That's what he's working on every day, and that's what this administration is doing.
Right now. But you know why they refuse to cover it?
Can I
Because they're fake news, that's why. Go ahead.
Can I get her someone?
Sure. Caroline, the Prime Minister would like you to work for him in Hungary.
Please consider
You know what? That's a very good decision. You just
Hey, get Kayleigh McEnany. She was pretty good at it.
Please don't leave us, Caroline.
Yeah, that's hilarious. All right, so we'll just move on to Rep. Stephanie Bice. Today is November 7th. The House Appropriations GOP has passed all 12 appropriations bills out of committee. The House GOP has fully funded the government with a clean, simple CR. What are the Democrats doing? They're playing games and supporting a government shutdown. And moving to House Administration Committee, GOP, and they came up with this image. I voted against paying Capitol Police. And they did a little bit of editing of their own because this is the original image. I'm here outside Speaker Johnson's office because he is starving families and gutting healthcare to cover up the Epstein files. Changed my mind. Oh my God, dude. I have a feeling nobody showed up, which is probably even more hilarious because she's probably in a part of the Capitol building where the public probably isn't necessarily allowed to go up there. And if one of the members of the GOP were to go up and start arguing with her, do you think they would really get that on camera? Do you think that she would really actually would publish that or would allow them to publish anything? It's just this stupid political, just grandstanding, just like empty bullshit. But anyway, her sign says, Mike Johnson is starving families and gutting healthcare to cover up the Epstein files. Changed my mind. How long do you think she actually sat there? I got my money on, I don't know, 30 seconds, maybe 35 seconds, just long enough to get a picture, folded up the table and just went on about their day. That would be my wild guess. House Republicans, yikes. Even CNN is calling out Democrat Rep. Jayapal for lying about the Democrat shutdown. Let's take a look. 36 seconds.
The House, the
Let's
Senate,
go.
and the White House.
Pamela has a question.
I'm wondering what you say to Republicans and critics of what the Democrats are doing, arguing that, look, the bottom line is if Democrats in the Senate voted for the CR, the government would reopen. That's the fact. And they're using Americans as leverage in a crisis of their own making. That's what Republicans argue. They say, look, the Democrats came up with the ACA. The Democrats came up with this expiration date for the subsidies. And now this is, a crisis of their own making, and they're holding Americans hostage, basically. What the House, the Senate?
Yeah, well, they probably didn't allow her to respond, which I would have been more appreciative if they did. It's probably because she didn't answer the question at all. You think she really answered that question? Of course not. Come on. The White House, quote, if Republicans kill the filibuster, they sail to victory for many years to come. If they don't, disaster waiting to happen. President Donald J. Trump. And to the next one, Senator Mike Crapo. Insurance premiums are skyrocketing because our healthcare system is broken. The claim that my Democrat colleagues are making that we extend the temporary Biden COVID bonuses and it will solve the problem just isn't true. It's only 4 percentage points of the premium increases that are coming. Really?
Insurance premiums are skyrocketing, not because of a temporary small COVID premium support passed.
No, they have been since 2009, right?
Crisis. They are cratering. They are skyrocketing because our healthcare system is broken and needs to be fixed. And we've been asking to negotiate about this for years and intensely over the last few months. And let me give it some real specifics.
Yeah, just dump more money into it. And by the way, like you've got Senator Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas Elizabeth Warren. How much money has Big Pharma, the healthcare industry, how much have they given to her campaign? $600,000. And that's just one example I have off the top of my head. Sure, plenty of Democrats have received tons of money from big medical companies and the medical industry in general. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if they were funding Democrats a lot more than they are Republicans, especially because they just keep propping up the Affordable Care Act, keep propping up Obamacare.
This demand that my colleagues on the Democrat side are making Even if it were true that it was all of it was an impact, letting it expire would be an impact on premium increases, which is not accurate. Even if all of it were to be impacting premium increases, it's only 4% of the premium support. It's only 4% of the premium increases that are coming.
All right, well, I'm waiting on what the Republicans are going to do. I'm ready to see what they put on paper. I don't know if he's got something out there, but it would sure be nice if he had linked anything, if he actually had something that he came up with, which, no, he didn't, but that's all right. Okay, moving on to U.S. DOT rapid response from Secretary Sean Duffy. Quote, Congress is holding the American people hostage. Look at the votes and see who voted to shut the government down. Call the senators who voted for that. That's where the blame lies. I mean, that's a good way to put it.
I would say look at the votes in the Senate and see who voted to open the government and who voted to shut it down. And then I'd call those senators who voted to shut it down. And that's where the blame lies. And that's not for I understand there's true differences of opinion, and I'm okay with that. But this is not the system we have to address differences in opinion in the legislature. We have legislation, we have debates, and we have votes, and we have elections that set the number of people we have in each party in each body. If you lost an election, you can't just stomp your feet and pound your fists and say, I want to get my way by holding the American people
well, the Democrats
hostage.
say, hold my beer.
We don't do it that way. And so I think Democrats have to come to their senses and maybe leverage a vote,
You think
maybe
they will?
leverage a debate, but to give something up to open the government up, I think would be a mistake on the.
All right. Well, I think we're at the point now where you can wish in one hand, shit in the other, and see which one fills up first. All right, Leader John Thune, if I were a Democrat, I would be embarrassed to walk into this building every day, to walk past the men and women of the Capitol Police not getting paid, the junior staffers wondering how they are going to pay their rent. How can Democrats look at any of these people in the eyes? I'm sure they don't. They just don't give a shit. They probably never look at them. They probably don't even realize that they even exist, probably. That's how little of a shit that they give about them.
Well, Mr. President, the junior senator from Connecticut certainly believes in saying the quiet part out loud. This is what he said, and I quote, I think there will be some pretty substantial damage done to a Democrat brand that has been rehabilitated if on the heels of an election in which the people told us to keep fighting, we immediately stop fighting. He said that on a podcast yesterday. He went on to say that the 2026 election is just 12 months away. And if we surrender without having gotten anything, and we caused a lot of folks in this country who had started to believe in the Democrat Party to retreat again, I worry that it will be hard to sort of get them back up off the mat in time for next fall's election cycle, end quote. Let me repeat that, Mr. President. This is what he said. I worry that it will be hard to sort of get them back up off the mat in time for next fall's election cycle, end quote.
Okay.
I'll let that sink in for a minute, Mr. President. I don't think it's a secret to anybody that the Democrats shut down the government for political reasons. There's been plenty of news coverage of the incredible pressure that their far-left base has been exerting. But in case anyone was still under the impression that Democrats were driving this shutdown toward its 40th day out of concern for the American people, well, the junior Democrat from Connecticut pretty handily dispelled that notion. Again, that's what he said. I worry that it'll be hard to sort of get them back off the mat in time for next fall's election cycle, end quote. And just in case anyone needed any additional testimony, Axios reported on Wednesday, and I quote, a set of post-election talking points circulated among Democratic congressional offices warned caving without concessions would sap Democrats' momentum and undercut the party's support from its base.
It would make them look bad.
Democrats throwing Republicans
be all for nothing.
a rope in exchange for nothing would be
We can't look weak.
Political self-sabotage.
That's why this is going on till next year.
Political self-sabotage, Mr. President. Now, there are two very striking things about these quotes. One, of course, is the focus not on the American people, but on how to ensure Democrats win the next election. And two is the fact that progressive Democrats apparently want to keep this shutdown going forever. We're on day 38 of Democrat shutdown. Day 38. Federal workers have gone more than a month now without pay.
All right, I'll cut it there. I'll repost this. Link to my profiles into the description, or you can check out Leader John Thune on his profile. He posted this earlier today at 12:56 p.m. All right, so moving on to GOP. Since you're still confused, maybe your friends can explain it to you.
The Senate needs 60 votes to pass a bill.
These days, you need 60 votes for everything.
You need 60 votes. Requires 60 votes in the United States Senate.
But in the Senate, you've got this rule where you got to get, these days, 60 votes.
You need 60 votes to get major things done.
60 votes, and you can block it with 40.
The United States Senate, you've got to have 60 votes for everything.
You still have to deal with 60 votes.
You need 60 votes to pass a law in the Senate.
60 votes to get anything passed.
You need 60 votes?
We need 60 votes. We need 60 votes.
And we need 60 votes.
Not 50 votes.
60 votes.
Obviously, you need 60 votes. Everything requires 60 votes.
And we've got to get 60 votes in the Senate.
If you don't have 60 votes, you can't get legislation passed.
Yeah, and the reason why they keep saying all this over and over is because they don't have 60 Republicans in the Senate. If I'm not mistaken, there's only 53 in the Senate. So, or maybe it's even 52. I think it's 53, though. There's not enough. There's not enough Republican senators to be able to get 60 votes in order to pass the CR bill to get the government funded again, which is why it's closed. It's closed because there's not 60 senators voting to reopen it. And the ones who are voting not to reopen it are Democrats.
Say that in plain English, it means
and Senator Rand Paul.
60 votes. We need 60 votes in the Senate. You need 60 votes.
You still need 60 votes over in the Senate.
With spending bills subject to 60 votes.
If you couldn't get 60 votes, you couldn't get something moving.
And of course, the Senate requires 60 votes.
It's a supermajority. You need 60 votes.
You've got to get essentially 60 votes in order to get anything through the Senate.
In the Senate, you know, they need 60 votes.
Something called a filibuster that requires 60 votes.
You need 60 votes.
You still need 60 votes. They need 60 votes.
Because you need Democrats and Republicans to pass a bill.
You need Democratic votes to pass a budget. Everybody's known that. That's been the rule in the Senate for years.
There you go. And that is why the government shut down, because Democrats are not voting to pass the spending bill. It's the Democrats. So they responded to House Democrats who say, your daily reminder that Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. They could reopen the government today if they wanted to. No, they couldn't, because you need 60 fucking votes to pass the CR bill, which is why the government shut down, because Democrats keep it shut down. For a 14th time, by the way, open the government, you lying piece of shit. Oh, wow, man. From RNC Research, they getting really spicy over there. Schumer pushes shutdown into record books after rejecting the GOP bill a 14th time. Shutdown to become longest in U.S. history after Democrats reject GOP's 14th attempt to reopen the government. I mean, I'm not really crazy about that framing, because the CR bill, it's not exclusively a GOP bill. It's been a bipartisan bill for years. They've passed the same bill 13 times already, Democrats included, throughout recent years, and including the whole Biden administration. They passed the same bill over and over again to keep the government funded for a short period of time. So it's not necessarily exclusively the GOP's bill. I know it was the GOP who surely put it on the floor to keep the government funded. But all right, anyway, so this comes from Chuck Schumer. Trump's continued weaponization of hunger is heartless and vile. This plan will delay benefits for every SNAP recipient and could mean some elderly or disabled Americans, veterans, and children will receive nothing. From the New York Times, some SNAP recipients may not receive food stamps under White House policy. Well, the reason is because there's just not enough money, because the Democrats keep the government shut down, and they were able to use $5.25 billion for emergency funding to keep SNAP benefits funded temporarily, but that funding's only going to last about 2 to 3 weeks. So it's not going to last for the entire month. But I do have news on that. There was an order from a federal court that was handed down that's forcing the Trump administration to fund the entire month of November, despite there's no more emergency money. Where's the money going to come from? But we're going to get to that here in a little bit. All right, so House Republicans, disgusting, and they're replying to Town Hall. Watch, Democrat Senator Dick Blumenthal, there is no reason to surrender now. Americans suffer, Democrats play games. Should Congress people continue to be paid during the shutdown while millions miss their paychecks? Absolutely not. I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that members of Congress are still getting paid while everyone else who are not getting paid aren't. Let's take a look at this.
There is no reason to surrender now, every reason to stand firm. I think that there is no reason to surrender now, every reason to stand firm.
Oh, there you go. Yep, every reason to stand firm because they don't want to look weak. They don't want to look bad. They don't want to look reckless, even though they are looking absolutely reckless. Okay, so anyway, I said it was only a minute. It's not even quite a minute. Breaking, a federal judge finds the Trump administration did not comply with his order to fund SNAP benefits. Judge John McConnell has verbally ordered the administration to fully fund SNAP benefits for the month of November by tomorrow. And I got this one from New York AG Letitia James. In a major victory, a court has ordered the Trump administration to send full November SNAP benefits by tomorrow. I'm relieved that people will get the food they need, but it's outrageous that it took a lawsuit to make the federal government feed its own people. Well, the reality is because the Trump administration had no authority to touch those emergency benefits because you couldn't allocate those benefits to a time when there's not an emergency, and a government shutdown, I don't believe, is an emergency because they could just immediately reopen it, but the Democrats refused to. And then she replied to herself, the Trump administration is still choosing to withhold life-saving food assistance from millions of Americans. We're asking a court to require USDA to release complete SNAP benefits for November. I'll keep fighting this shameful inaction until every New Yorker is fed. Yeah, okay. Whatever, dude. Cope harder. All right, so I got this from Amy Klobuchar. The administration is now appealing the court decision requiring it to provide full food assistance to Americans. There's no other way to put it. They are doing everything they can to take away food from Americans in need. Shameful. And from Tony Rahm, not familiar. Breaking, the Justice Department said it would file an appeal after a federal judge ordered the Trump administration on Thursday to pay food stamps in full this month. A federal court ordered the Trump administration to provide full food stamp payments to states by Friday and sharply admonished the government for slow-walking aid days after Trump said he'd halt it entirely. And I know the main problem is trying to find the money because $5.25 billion doesn't fund the entire month. So where's the rest of it going to come from? Governor Gavin Newsom, big win. The Trump administration was ordered today to immediately release all the SNAP food benefits they've withheld from or during the government shutdown. Californians are beginning to see benefits on their CalFresh cards now. Federal judge has ordered Trump administration to make full SNAP payments for November. All right, I think we got the idea at this point, don't we? So I do have this just to try to simplify it as much as I could. So I went to Grok, and before you freak out, I've got sources. We got 9 web pages. You know, these are the sources for the information that Grok gathered for me. Judge orders Trump administration to fully fund SNAP. CBS News, Politico, YouTube. I don't know why I picked YouTube, but maybe it's on a mainstream news YouTube channel. Reuters.com, PBS, ABCnews.go.com, NewYorkTimes.com, Left Wing, left, BBC.com. So, all right, so this is what it came up with. So it said, this is the background on the judge's order. On November 6th of 2025, a U.S. District Judge John McConnell Jr. in Rhode Island issued an oral order directing the Trump administration to fully fund Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program SNAP benefits for November, totaling approximately $8 billion for about 42 million low-income Americans by Friday, November 7th. This came after SNAP benefits lapsed for the first time in U.S. history over the weekend due to the ongoing government shutdown, which began in late October. The judge ruled that the administration had violated his prior order by only providing partial funding and emphasized that further delays would cause avoidable harm to recipients. The administration immediately appealed to the First Circuit Court of Appeals, but the order stands for now. States have stepped in with their own funds to support food banks and emergency programs, but experts say these cannot fully replace federal SNAP dollars. Where will the money come from? The Trump administration has argued it lacks authority to divert funds from other sources beyond the $4.6 billion it already released from a U.S. Department of Agriculture contingency fund for partial November payments, which covers up to 65% of benefits for many recipients. They claim logistical issues at the state level are causing delays, not federal inaction. and that full funding would require congressional action to reopen the government. However, the judge rejected this position, ordering the administration to get a load of this, to find the money regardless. I don't care. Find the money. If you can't find it, you better look harder. So critics, including Democratic lawmakers and nonprofits, point to precedents where the administration has tapped alternative sources, such as unused tariff revenues, which is probably frozen because Trump's tariffs are now being held up in the Supreme Court currently. They just heard oral arguments on Trump's tariffs on Wednesday, so I'm sure they can't just start dumping tariff money into programs when we're not even sure if Trump's tariffs are even legal to begin with. So I'm sure that money is probably frozen for exactly that. But anyway, they say the USDA previously redirected unspent funds from Trump-era tariffs on imported goods, steel and aluminum, to cover a separate nutrition program for low-income women and children. Similar reallocations could cover the SNAP shortfall, estimated at around $3.4 billion, beyond the contingency fund. Other Federal Reserve's potential draws from broader USDA or Treasury Department slush funds, though the administration insists these are earmarked and unavailable without legislation. So the Trump administration saying, look, if you can find the money, we'll be happy to disperse it into SNAP benefits, but it appears that either we don't have the authority in the executive branch to disperse those funds, or we just simply don't know where that money is that you're talking about. But according to the Trump administration, it looks like they're standing by that they can't release whatever funds that you demand us to release without congressional legislation. So Congress, an act of Congress, has to do it. As of November 7th, no final resolution has been announced, and payments to states are due by the end of today. If the appeal succeeds, partial funding could persist until Congress acts on the shutdown. Advocacy groups like Feeding America warned that even short-term shortfalls could exacerbate food insecurity amid rising costs. For real-time updates, monitor USDA announcements or court filings in the First Circuit. So that's the update on what's going on. The Trump administration, they're just kind of scratching their heads like, okay, well, we already gave I thought it was $5.25 billion, but now they're saying it's $4.6 billion. So they've already allocated that money for the November payment as far as it'll reach, or as far as that money will stretch. But Trump has already been clear. If they've got extra money laying around somewhere, he'll be more than happy. I'm quoting him, "It will be my honor." That's what he said, to fund SNAP benefits into the foreseeable future. I mean, Trump has already stood on that. So the problem is where is the money going to come from? All right. Anyway, so we'll move on to DOW rapid response. The Secretary of War, quote, "Today I'd like to talk to you about an adversary that poses a threat to the United States of America. This adversary is one of the world's last bastions of central planning. It governs by dictating 5-year plans. From a single capital, it attempts to impose its demands across time zones, continents, oceans, and beyond with brutal consistency. The adversary I'm talking about is much closer to home. It's the Pentagon bureaucracy." Uh-oh.
Today, I'd like to talk to you about an adversary that poses a threat, a very serious threat, to the United States of America. This adversary is one of the world's last bastions of central planning. It governs by dictating in 5-year plans. From a single capital, it attempts to impose its demands across time zones, continents, oceans, and beyond. With brutal consistency, it stifles free thought and crushes new ideas. It disrupts the defense of the United States and places the lives of our men and women in uniform at risk.
Okay, so in case you're wondering why I sometimes just skip the quotes and go straight to the video, that's why, because he just said out loud exactly what I read in his post.
Perhaps this sounds like the former Soviet Union, but that enemy is long gone. The foe I'm talking about is more subtle and implacable. You may think I'm describing one of the last decrepit dictators of the world, but their day too is almost certainly past. And they cannot match the size and strength of this adversary, nor am I talking about the Chinese Communist Party. The adversary I'm talking about is much closer to home. It's the Pentagon bureaucracy. Not the people, but the process. Not the civilians, but the system. Not the men and women in uniform, but the uniformity of thought and action that is too often imposed on them.
Well, I mean, it sounds like probably going to have to take a series of acts from Congress in order to upend all of that, which would probably get a lot of movement if they nuked the filibuster, because the Republicans already control the House and they've got the majority in the Senate. So, I mean, just imagine everything they could pass if they were to do that. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, once again, as we've said before, vessel strikes on narco-terrorists will continue until the positioning or the poisoning of the American people stops. Today, at the direction of President Trump, the Department of War carried out a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel operated by a designated terrorist organization, probably Tren de Aragua, even though he didn't state it specifically. The vessel was trafficking narcotics in the Caribbean and was struck in international waters. No U.S. forces were harmed in the strike, and 3 male narco-terrorists who were aboard the vessel were killed. To all narco-terrorists who threaten our homeland, if you want to stay alive, stop trafficking drugs. If you keep trafficking deadly drugs, we will kill you. And I believe this is the 17th vessel that they have blown out of the water so far, if I'm not mistaken. Probably not going to be sound. There never is. But we'll get a look at the strike. Boom! Taken out. Another vessel bites the dust. Another narco-terrorism trio will no longer be trafficking drugs. And who knows how many kilos of drugs that they had on that vessel. Probably hundreds. That would be my wild guess. From U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro, government shutdown or not, the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. is pursuing justice. Here's a look at the cases keeping our prosecutors in the fight. I haven't heard from her in a while. It's a bit of a long one. We'll see where it goes. If it kind of drags on, then I'll repost it if you want to watch the rest of it on your time. But we'll take a look at it. We'll see where it goes.
Janine Pirro. Government shutdown or not, crime doesn't stop, and neither do the prosecutors in this office. Here's a look at the cases keeping our prosecutors in the fight. Sentences of note. 31-year-old Matthew Green was sentenced to 100 months in prison for his role in drug trafficking conspiracy and for illegally possessing a Glock 19 pistol. Officers recovered crack cocaine, 122 vials of PCP, 366 grams of marijuana, and a 20-ounce bottle of suspected lean, a cocktail of prescription-strength cough syrup mixed with soda.
Some of that purple drink.
Were sentenced for their involvement
sipping on some syrup.
Shooting that killed 3 over Labor Day weekend in 2021. The 3 ringleaders were each sentenced to more than 100 years incarceration. 3 victims, Mr. Netta Dyson, 31, Mr. Keenan Braxton, 24, and Mr. Johnny Joyner, 37, were killed, and another 3 victims sustained non-lethal gunshot wounds from that shooting.
Wow, man.
And a former Colombian Army intelligence officer, 36-year-old Waro Andres Alzate Milan, was sentenced to 65 months in prison for a scheme to export nearly 10 kilograms of cocaine from South America to the United States.
Dude, that seems kind of light, though, doesn't it? Like what is that, like 5 or 6 years in prison? Like back in the day, if you were caught with kilos of cocaine, man, you're looking at like 30 years, 35, 40 years.
Milan provided 10 bricks of cocaine to an individual with the intention of trafficking.
Look, not to say that I fully support that. I think 30 years just for selling drugs, I think that's pretty extreme. But I don't want to get into the weeds on that.
From Colombia to New York. 40-year-old Charles Hilton was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison for producing child pornography and sexually abusing a 13-year-old girl. Investigators recovered more than 1,000 explicit files linked to his online account, including homemade videos of the abuse. Investigators recovered text messages from Hilton's devices. Those texts indicated that Hilton blackmailed the 13-year-old victim by threatening to share embarrassing information about her. And if you think crime stops when an offender is sent to jail, think again. 42-year-old Franklin Giovanni Torres, a convicted sex offender, already serving 21 years in federal prison for producing and distributing child pornography and first-degree sexual abuse of a minor, was sentenced to an additional 16 months for mailing death threats to the mother of the victim in the previous crime. The handwritten letter to his victim's mom said, quote, "I'm going to get out one day, and when that day comes is when you're going to shed tears of blood. Because that day, I'm going to get rid of your whole family, cousins, nephews, nieces, and grandmother, children.
Good God, dude. So he's both evil and stupid.
And when he completes his prison sentences in South Carolina, Torres will be deported to El Salvador.
Fucking asshole.
A heavily armed fentanyl dealer, 31-year-old Angelo Mark, was sentenced to 91 months in prison for operating a drug delivery service with his brother across the D.C. metro area. Kind of like DoorDash, but you get drugs instead. When law enforcement executed a search warrant, they recovered multiple firearms, 3 assault-style rifles with serial numbers removed, and nearly 1,000 rounds of ammunition. And as for charges and arrests, 18-year-old Naquan Lucas was charged in a 16-count indictment with the June 30 murder of 21-year-old congressional intern Eric Tarpinian Jackham. Lucas was then also charged in a second indictment for the July 4th murder of 17-year-olds.
I remember this is all Washington, D.C. Remember when Democrats, like when Trump was ready to move the feds in to clean up D.C., they're like, oh, we don't have a crime problem here. Crime isn't a problem at all here.
So
yeah, okay.
Tarpinian was an innocent bystander when 3 armed suspects began firing shots near the convention center. Tarpinian was shot 4 times and died the next day. The gunfire traveled as far as 5 blocks away, and 5 additional victims were identified. Less than a week later, on the 4th of July, MPD officers found Zoe Kelly dead of a gunshot wound to the head inside a bedroom closet. Earlier, on September 5th, Naquan's 17-year-old brother, Jalen Lucas, and 17-year-old Kelvin Thomas Jr. were arrested and charged as adults on counts of first-degree murder while armed in the intern's killing. I believe these were predictable homicides based upon the behavior of these individuals and the records that everyone knew about. Yet the D.C. Council is interested in protecting not the victims, but the criminals under the guise of protecting the innocence of youth.
Yeah. Like what, 25-year-old juveniles in D.C.? Give me a break.
St. Matthew the Apostle, after officers discovered more than 200 homemade explosive devices. The cathedral was preparing to hold the Red Mass for the Supreme Court justices. Jerry threatened to ignite the explosives. In his manifesto, he expressed his hatred for Catholics, Jews, the Supreme Court, and ICE. 33-year-old
dude, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
Citizen of Belarus, was extradited from France on an indictment charging her in connection with procuring and illicitly exporting numerous avionics and other prohibited aircraft equipment from the United States to Russia. Following Russia's
I think I covered this one the other day.
In May 2022, Leonova, with co-conspirators located in the U.S., purchased the aircraft components from U.S.-based distributors. Then, using companies located in Armenia, the Maldives, and elsewhere, they transshipped the components to Russia without the required licenses from the U.S. Department of Commerce and pleas and convictions. 3 members of a violent crew were found guilty in connection with the armed robberies of 12 pharmacies and cell phone stores in the District, Maryland, Virginia, and New Jersey. 32-year-old Ashley Gowes, 35-year-old Demel Mitchell, and 35-year-old Terrence Barnum, multiple co-defendants, though previously had pleaded guilty to their roles in a number of these robberies. And a jury found 36-year-old Ronell Offit guilty on 4 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed. Offit had a fight with others during a traffic dispute. The dispute led him to being beaten. He then left the scene and returned with a gun and shot at a crowded bus stop. He hit a 5-year-old girl.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with road rage, man. You never know who the hell's in the car next to you.
Peter Williams pleaded guilty to 2 counts of theft of trade secrets, stealing cyber exploit components from his employer, an American defense contractor. The components were meant to be sold exclusively to the U.S. government and select allies. Williams, who was the general manager for the defense contractor, sold those secrets to a Russian cyber broker in exchange for the promise of millions in cryptocurrency. His conduct caused over $35 million in losses to a company here in the District of Columbia.
Wow.
And in other news, my office, in conjunction with the U.S. Marshal Service, had launched a citywide operation to ensure that sex offenders who live in the district remain compliant with the law. Federal agents have conducted compliance checks on 883 sex offenders and identified, arrested, and prosecuted 25 sex offenders for failing to register. This effort is an essential part of ensuring public safety in D.C. 9 of those offenders previously were convicted of either extremely serious sexual assaults or having victimized multiple individuals. And lastly, efforts by the Violent Crimes and Narcotics Trafficking section in my office led to the takedown of a dangerous drug den, which was directly across the street from a school with kindergarten students.
Oh, I think I remember this one too.
Included cocaine, fentanyl, body armor, multiple handguns,
This was like back in August or so.
Assault pistols, and over 300 rounds of ammo. And every day we confront the pain and the trauma inflicted on victims by criminals. And even when the government is shut down, our responsibility is to stand up for you. My office will stop at nothing to expose wrongdoers, prove their crimes in court, and deliver justice to the people of the district.
Oh yeah, there you go. That was interesting. Ended up letting that play out after all. A lot of winning happening in D.C. with regard to the crime crackdowns. And I'll be coming up on it here in a minute. I do have the numbers for Washington, D.C. I haven't come across those numbers in a while. If you've been watching my show, whether if it's daily or if it's occasionally, like back in August and September when they were full on with the crime crackdown in D.C., they were posting the numbers, like the total numbers of arrests and firearms seized. Well, they just published the most recent one, and it is a big number. It's a lot bigger than when I last saw it. So this is from FBI Director Kash Patel. The Michigan terror case shows exactly why vigilance matters. These suspects weren't acting alone. They were radicalized, seeking guidance from extremists tied to ISIS ideology. This FBI and our fantastic partners stopped another potential massacre. And that is on the New York Post. I was say he typically links the articles, and I know New York Post doesn't pay well, so don't have to worry about that. And got it from here. Get rid of the player. Suspect accused of plotting the Michigan Halloween terror attack allegedly sought guidance on when to carry out the violence from the father of a local extremist Islamic preacher who was previously called on American Muslims to wage jihad. Let me just take a look here. Okay, so that was when they were conducting the search, when they were raiding the house. Mohammed Ali, 20, and an unnamed juvenile had a conversation last week about reaching out to the father of the so-called Islamic ideologue to ask for advice on timing for a quote-unquote good deed, the FBI alleged in a criminal complaint. The feds didn't specifically identify the Islamic ideologue, but described a research paper on radicalization that clearly named the radical preacher as ISIS supporter Ahmed Musa Jabril, according to the court filing. And that's Muhammad Ali pictured there. I believe that was at a gun range where he was practicing to carry out this act of terror. Jabril's father, Sheikh Musa Abdullah Jabril, who also isn't named in the complaint, founded a mosque in Dearborn, Michigan. Of course he did. The juvenile is said to have called the preacher's father on October 29th to tell him he intended to do a good deed, but was unsure of what day to do it, the court papers charge. And that's Ali on the left and unnamed co-conspirator on the right. Not sure. Unnamed. The preacher's dad then allegedly told the juvenile that he shouldn't wait and to carry out the deed. There is no suggestion that the preacher's dad was aware of the alleged plot. Still, the FBI alleged the pair went on to use the guidance to forge ahead with plans for the attack, according to the complaint. When the juvenile was relaying his conversation with the preacher to Ali, Ali acknowledged that, quote, if the Islamic ideologue's father knew about the actual plan to which Ali and the juvenile had agreed, the Islamic ideologue's father would not have said what he did when the juvenile asked him about the timing of doing a good deed, the filing states. And I'm assuming that's the father, the Islamic preacher who has previously called on American Muslims to wage jihad. That's what that dude did. And anyway, the younger Jabril has a history of spewing hate-filled sermons, including some that reportedly helped inspire the London Bridge terror attack. The preacher also previously called on Muslims in the U.S. to wage jihad against the infidel West and for followers to turn away from what he described as a watered-down American Zionist Islam that ignores the idea of jihad. Deport them. Deport all of them. Get rid of them. If you don't want to assimilate into America and embrace our American values, our culture, our morals, our traditions, everything that we stand for, you have no business being inside this country. Go home. Leave. Meanwhile, Ali is one of several that have been charged this week over the widespread alleged terrorism-style attack. Ali and 2 other Michigan suspects, Ayub Nasser, 19, and Mahed Mahmoud, 20, are charged with conspiracy to provide material support and resources to a designated terrorist organization and receiving and transferring guns and ammunition for terrorism. The suspects are accused of sharing ISIS propaganda in group chats on Discord and scouting LGBTQ plus friendly locations for a possible attack. Okay. I mean, I think the LGBTQ community supports them. At least they appear that they do, or at least they claim that they do. You know, like Gays for Palestine and all that. Investigators say 2 juveniles identify only as person 1 and person 2 in court documents were also involved in the alleged plans. Authorities in New Jersey have since charged 2 more young men, Thomas Jimenez Guzol and Saeed Mira, both 19, over their alleged connections to the plot. Jimenez Guzol and Mira, upper crust students athletes from Tony Montclair, were charged Wednesday with conspiring to provide material support to a designated terrorist organization. Jimenez Guzol, who was nabbed trying to board a flight to Turkey, faces an additional charge of attempting to provide material support. And that is that. And again, that was from FBI Director Kash Patel, who posted about that. And I got one more from him. Great work, FBI Seattle and JTTF, saving American lives. This is from the FBI Seattle. Quote, I commend the outstanding work and dedication displayed over the past week by all in FBI Seattle and other field offices across the country who played an important role in preventing a potential attack and keeping our community safe, said W. Mike Harrigan, special agent in charge of the FBI's Seattle field office. Quote, this is a top priority for the FBI in the state of Washington, and our Joint Terrorism Task Force remains vigilant, working behind the scenes with our partners to protect our nation from threats, both foreign and domestic. Statement from FBI Newark, and I will link that, and the statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office, District of New Jersey. We'll link that as well. And that's the same statement. So anyway, yeah, they foiled a potential terrorist attack, it would seem. So, okay, well, that just links to the exact same thing. Or does it? Oh, okay, no, never mind. This is FBI Newark. Okay, so this week, members of the FBI Newark Joint Terrorism Task Force showed the dexterity and swiftness it takes to protect this country from those who wish to harm us. The agents, intelligence agents, or analysts, professional staff, task force officers, prosecutors, as well as federal, state, and local partner agencies are our lifeblood. We cannot do what we did in this investigation with every one of them. I mean, what exactly was it? Our most important mandate is to stop something bad from happening before it happens, yada, yada. So what exactly did they foil? That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. All right, so now they got a video linked. All right, let's at least take a look at it.
Under President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi's
I think I already played this one.
Protecting the homeland from radical Islamic terrorism and violent extremism is one of the Justice Department's highest priorities. The President's directives to federal law enforcement are very clear. Act quickly.
Uh-oh, what did I do? Oh, shit, I fucked up. What? Oh, man, come on.
Work together and stop threats before innocent people are harmed. Yesterday, my office, working hand in hand with the National Security Division in my office, did just that and charged 2 individuals by federal complaint connected to the Halloween terror plot in Detroit.
Okay, so it's still related to that.
The first suspect is charged with conspiring to provide material support to a designated terrorist organization. The second suspect is charged with transmitting violent, anti-Semitic threats across the internet to individuals in the state of New Jersey and beyond. The threat of terrorism is real. When Americans are threatened, we respond fast, focused, and together.
Yep, always happening. Always a threat of terrorism happening. Okay, so let's see. Where was I? Oh, no, I went too far. Oh, wait, no. Never mind, I'm good. Here we go. Just the wrong tab is all. All right, so let's move back to the bookmarks and move on to Rep. Pramila Jayapal. Trump told Americans he was going to go after the worst of the worst. Instead, ICE is kidnapping people. Of all legal statuses, including U.S. citizens, and disappearing them with zero accountability. I mean, she can't give one single example of a U.S. citizen, quote-unquote, being disappeared, because it ain't happening. She's full of S-H-I-T shit. Americans are fed up with this cruelty, and we are not going to let it stand. So, Let's give this a watch. This ought to be fun.
Trump's overreach, his violence, his cruelty.
Trump is violent and cruel. Please give an example of that.
Picking up, huge numbers.
You know, no, I don't. I don't know.
Whatever their status is, whatever their immigration status is, that has included U.S. citizens.
U.S. citizens don't have immigration status, dumbass.
Legal permanent residents, and it has included people who have been here for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, it does. People who have been here illegally for 15 or 20 years. I talked about an individual just yesterday who had been here since 2001 illegally, and they finally fucking caught him.
Living, contributing in their communities. They have relationships across their community.
Yeah, without paying taxes, by the way.
They're undocumented, but they have no other crime. And
it doesn't matter. That is their crime, you asshole. You fucking dumbass. Plus, the vast majority of people that ICE is picking up right now do have a lengthy criminal history, and they've committed crimes inside this country. And they got on ICE's radar because they were arrested for committing crimes in these sanctuary cities. They were thrown in jail, and ICE would place phone calls to these jails asking them to hold on to them so we can pick them up. And instead of answering their calls, which they don't, they fast-track them to the front of the line to get in front of a judge as soon as humanly possible so they can release them before ICE has a chance to catch them. That's why all these freaking operations are happening out in public, endangering the public, because these sanctuary cities refuse to hold them so they can be safely arrested in jail and deported.
As you know, being undocumented is actually not a crime. Undocumented presence itself is a civil offense.
But it is. Civil offense is a crime. You could call tomato, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's a crime.
And so I think what people have seen is these masked men coming onto the streets.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're playing this video. I covered this yesterday. This woman was in a vehicle with a male driver, and they were fleeing federal agents in their vehicle. They were in a full-on police chase. She jumped out of the vehicle, ran into this daycare center where they arrested her. But of course, the fake news media, they're calling her a poor innocent preschool teacher who did nothing wrong. And they just busted into this building and just scared the children half to death. And they just arrested her for no reason whatsoever.
Kidnapping people, deporting people, and it has
76% of Americans are in support of mass deportations.
An absolute
Why do you think the popular majority voted for Trump? That was his number one talking point on the campaign trail.
You said that you were going to go after the worst of the worst. That was the phrase that he used.
And
this
they are.
This is not what we're talking about. We actually like immigrants. We like immigration.
Yeah, we do. We all like immigrants. We all like immigration. Legal immigration. We don't want illegal immigrants. We don't want them.
That there should be ways for people.
You know what? Ask a legal immigrant. Ask their opinion, J-Pal. Ask the illegal immigrants what they think about undocumented American migrants, whatever the fuck they're calling them these days. They don't agree with them all that much because the legal immigrants had to wait their turn. Some had to wait decades to get the opportunity to become either an American citizen or be able to immigrate into the United States. And they don't really appreciate illegals just sneaking across the border and just instantly jumping up to the same status where these legal immigrants are. It ain't fair.
Stay here when they have been living here, pathways for people to come in. And so I really do.
I don't care. They've been here 50 years. They're illegally here.
And in many ways, it's ricocheted back, and it's allowed us to once again regain the high ground that Democrats should have held all along. Around
when they go low, we go high.
System, right, making it so that people who
said Michael Obama, or I'm sorry, Michelle Obama.
To be here.
All right, whatever. That was fun. That was enjoyable. I got a kick out of that. All right, Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Once again, the Justice Department just filed a request for an immediate stay of Judge McConnell's utterly lawless temporary restraining order issued yesterday after business hours, yet remarkably forcing USDA to raid school lunch money to instead fund SNAP benefits. So I should have included this further up when we were talking about this judge. He's the one that was quote unquote forcing the Trump administration to just go find the money. I don't care where it is. Go find it. I don't care where it comes from. You got to fund SNAP benefits no matter what. That temporary restraining order purports to force the government to divert some $5 billion from the school lunch program to SNAP by the end of today. See, I didn't get that piece of the information earlier. If they're trying to go after school lunch money, that's kind of effed up. Why would we file this brief only this morning with that clock ticking? The First Circuit Clerk's Office made it impossible to file sooner. Despite being notified by the government of the high likelihood of fast-moving litigation, the First Circuit Clerk's Office refused to answer its phones until this morning and refused to offer any means of filing this emergency request until it processed certain paperwork during regular business hours. Probably because they're all a bunch of leftist activists. And they're working with the Democrats to make this as difficult as humanly possible to get SNAP funded, because obviously the Democrats have no intention on funding SNAP benefits. They don't want to help these people. They don't want to help them at all. That's why they're keeping the government shut down. So they can pin it all on Republicans, making people suffer so they can lie to the people who they're trying to gaslight into voting for them time and time again. The same people that they're withholding their benefits from. You can't make this shit up. So Judge McConnell exasperated his own manufactured emergency by starting the government's clock just after the First Circuit closed for the day, forcing an even faster rush today to disadvantage the government further. It is Congress's job to end this shutdown and fund SNAP and other programs. We ask the First Circuit to get courts out of the business of deciding how to triage scarce funds during a shutdown. When lawless district courts step in to try to manage the federal fisc, it upends the political process, and unacceptability risks compromising the programs for everyone. Yep, they absolutely did this in the most difficult way humanly possible. I'm sure the First Circuit did exactly that. I'm sure they did. Because why wouldn't they? If I'm not mistaken, I believe that judge is a Biden judge. I think I read that yesterday. If it's the same circuit, which I believe it is, I believe he was a Biden appointee. Would that surprise anybody? I don't think so. All right, so this comes from Rawls Alerts. You all remember this? The guy who threw the sandwich at federal agents. He threw like a friggin' Subway sandwich at him and took off running. And his stupid ass was tackled. All right, anyway, breaking. The man who was accused of throwing a sandwich at a Customs and Border Patrol or Border Protection federal agent in Washington, D.C. has been found not guilty. How do you like that? Anyway, let's take a look at the sandwiching. The sandwiching! Boom! Oh, shit! And there he goes. And his stupid ass is about to kiss some pavement. What a dumbass. Oh, man. I'm pretty sure they end up tackling him in the video if it went on. Oh, wait. All right, hold on. It's not all the way down. They're just going to do it again. He just full on just bombs him with that sandwich. He just takes off. All right, there's more of this video if you want to go digging around for it. There's another, I don't know if it's the same person filming, but somebody else at the least was in the same area, was filming him getting nasty with the agents, like calling them this, calling them that, racial slurs, probably white supremacists and shit like that. Like somebody was standing like just feet away from him when he was yelling at the agent. So there was another angle of it where you can hear him, just like shouting and yelling all this nonsense at him. I'm sure he was probably drunk. But anyway, that's no excuse though. Being drunk. Don't drink. Drinking's bad. All right, Senator Elisa Slotkin, what does it mean if your name is on this secret list? What's going to come after you? Oh, Trump's secret list. Oh no.
From the right wing, from everybody in between about, well, who gets to label who and in what administration. So it's always been a squishy.
Oh, by the way, she's pissed off because they're going after Antifa. That's what this is all about. They labeled Antifa as domestic terrorists, which I think is a miscalculation. I stand with Andy No on what he said that they should do. They should label them international terrorists because Antifa started in Germany.
There are terrorist acts, right? Blowing up a federal building.
Oh yeah, that's a hilarious argument. Well, there's people who commit acts of terrorism, but they can't be terrorists.
A terrorist act, but it's just been squishy in law.
Oh, it's just so squishy.
The Trump administration is they don't care that much about the squishiness. They've been willing to push the boundaries on law and then just wait.
No, they want to lock up terrorists, asshole.
So that's my concern when I saw this document. What was the president thinking in terms of coming up with this list? Who's on it?
No, you know what she's really scared of? She's scared of the federal government, the Trump administration, following the money. I think that's what all of these Democrats are scared of with regard to it, Antifa at the least. And also going after the organizations who are funding the rioters, because a lot of them are getting funded, especially like during the Summer of Love in 2020, when they were stacking up these pallets of bricks in the middle of major cities where just coincidentally, there just happened to be a riot there. About 12 hours later, there were videos of these white box trucks just pulling up to a street corner, and they were unloading a big pile of bricks. And then about 12 hours later, there were bricks getting thrown at cops.
And then
so who was funding all that?
Name is what's going to
terrorist organizations, domestic.
I think it feels to most Americans fundamentally not who we are to have the federal government not working on making things easier for the American people, but turned inward on the American people.
Yeah, whatever. You just don't want Antifa to get in trouble. It's just an idea. Secretary Kristi Noem, ICE has received more than 200,000 applicants from patriotic Americans who want to defend the homeland by removing the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens from the U.S. 200,000 people have applied. I think if she's talking about ICE, they only initially had like 10,000 positions available. I think they've actually increased it by another 10,000. But they've had 20 applicants per one position. That's absolutely incredible. Americans are answering their country's call to serve and help remove murderers, pedophiles, rapists, terrorists, and gang members from our country. And if I'm not mistaken, Border Patrol, ICE, all the federal agents, I don't think they're getting paid right now. And despite the fact that they're not getting paid, they're still getting people applying to be the agents, or to be agents. So this comes from Fox News. And Noem touts 200K ICE agent applications as agency ramps up deportation of illegal migrants. Applications flood in despite an 8,000% increase in death threats toward immigration enforcement officers. The Department of Homeland Security said that more than 200,000 Americans applied. The surge in applications comes despite a substantial 8,000% increase in death threats. Quote, ICE has received more than 200,000 applications for patriotic Americans who want to defend the homeland by removing the worst of the worst criminals. All right. Where's the new stuff? In August, Noem cited more than 1,000% increase in assaults, not death threats, but assaults on immigration law enforcement officers. An uptick, she noted, came amid anti-ICE protests across the country and Democratic rhetoric surrounding ICE's mission. Of course. Agents have been busy around the country seeking out illegal migrants who have committed crimes in the U.S. and abroad, recently taking to the streets of New York City to make arrests on the city's infamous Canal Street, partially known for selling counterfeit luxury and designer products. New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani sent a message to ICE agents during his speech in Queens the morning after his election victory, and he said the following, quote, my message to ICE agents and to everyone across the city is that everyone will be held to the same standard of law. What does that mean exactly? Mamdani told the crowd, and there is, sadly, a sense that is growing across this country that certain people are allowed to violate that law, whether they be the president or whether they be the agents themselves. Yeah, that means absolutely nothing at all, dude. It just means that he's not going to assist in ICE agents. But ICE has already gotten ahead of this, and they said, we don't care if they're going to assist us or not. We're still coming to New York City. We're still going to round them up. New York's newly elected mayor isn't the only Democrat to criticize the administration's deportation efforts. In late October, Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois said that agents were intentionally targeting brown and black individuals. Quote, they are literally targeting people who are brown and black, whether you are undocumented or not, Pritzker told reporters in River City, Illinois. They're indiscriminately grabbing people who don't look like the ICE agents typically and holding them or mistreating them. God, these people are fucking evil and brain dead. Despite the criticism, agents have carried out mostly successful arrests of illegal migrants, many of whom have committed serious crimes as part of President Donald Trump's pledge to deport the estimated millions of individuals who cross the border illegally under President Biden. DHS and Secretary Noem's hiring blitz utilized social media platforms to promote the open positions, some of which I've actually shared on this show, implementing a strategy of traditional American imagery to garner interest in the role. The agency's various social media outlets have even outpaced viewership and impressions from media giants CNN and MSNBC over the summer, as first reported by Fox News Digital. Sources at DHS told Fox News on Friday that the agency has deported more than 550,000 illegal immigrants since Trump took office. And we'll move on to Tricia McLaughlin. As usual, here's the real story. So first, let me get this first. So this is from Long Time First Time. ICE grabs a father by the neck, sending him into a violent seizure while his arms lock up around his toddler. Quote, he's having seizure and they're trying to rip the baby out of his hands, end quote. Agents then handcuff him before putting in ambulance with his child. Mother is detained by agents as the original target of arrest during the traffic stop, according to witnesses. Quote, they kept saying, we're going to put your kid in state custody if you don't comply, which they will if you don't comply. So in the end, she decided for the safety of my kid, I'm just gonna go. I was crying on and off every time I got an angle where I saw the kid. I started crying more because the baby was so confused. The incident occurred in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. Look, man, if they just complied, the baby wouldn't have been traumatized. Fucking idiots. These people are idiots. All right, so let's take a look at this.
I'm not touching the car. Leave me alone. Look what they're doing. He's sneezing.
Hey, what do you expect them to do? Oh, I'm sorry you're having a seizure, sir. You're free to go now. I mean, they're gonna apprehend him. Oh, and by the way, I believe they said that an ambulance was summoned, correct? So they did get him medical attention. Of course, the Democrats probably don't want you to know that. Okay, so let's see what the response to this post was from Trisha McLaughlin. So number one, this was a targeted ICE arrest of a violent criminal illegal alien who in August repeatedly stabbed her coworker with scissors and then threw a trash can at her victim. Number two, emergency medical personnel on the scene found no legitimate medical episode. ICE called 911 and the illegal alien refused any medical care. So there's an argument to be made that he was faking in order to what? Get away? I mean, I've never heard of somebody having a seizure and then all of a sudden the police or agents or law enforcement just threw up their hands and said, okay, your seizure, speaks for everyone. You're free to go. Anyway, Juliana Melinda Ojeda Montoya, a criminal illegal alien from Ecuador, was released into the country by the Biden administration in 23, of course. In August of 25, local police arrested this criminal illegal alien for assault and battery with a dangerous weapon after she stabbed her coworker twice with a pair of scissors and then threw a trash barrel at her. During ICE's targeted vehicle stop of Ojeda Montoya, her child and husband were in the car. The target threw the child into the arms of her husband while she purported to have a medical episode, or while he purported to have a medical episode, though refused medical help and displayed absolutely no signs of medical concerns just moments later. Agitators attempted to impede the arrest. Fitchburg police responded to the scene to help with crowd control. There you have it. So that's what happened. All right, so we'll move on. Move on to the next thing. From the U.S. Marshal Service, Memphis Safe Task Force updated as of November 7th. Today, 2,213 total arrests, 379 firearms seized. Memphis Safe Task Force, 97 missing children have been located, and 139 gang members have been arrested in Memphis. And this comes from D.C. D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force update as of today. 5,783 total arrests. 574 firearms have been seized. 14 missing children have been located and 37 gang members arrested. I think the number last I saw, it was like right around the 3,000 mark. So that might have been, I don't know if it was over a month ago. Maybe it was roughly a month ago, but I mean, they're approaching 6,000 now. And from the U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Coast Guard achieves record-breaking recruiting results. 5,900 plus enlisted members, which is the best recruiting the Coast Guard has seen since 1991. There's 121% of fiscal year 2025 active duty goal that was achieved. Also, the largest officer target ever met, 370 plus. Through Force Design 2028 and unprecedented investment, the Coast Guard is leading with military services in recruiting and building the most agile, capable, and responsive fighting force to meet America's needs. Take a look at this.
As the nation faces increasingly dangerous and complex threats from a variety of actors that would seek to do us harm, the American people depend on the Coast Guard now more than ever before.
We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you.
The men and women of the Coast Guard are the best America has to offer.
All right, man, U.S. Coast Guard. I actually just read the other day that they placed an order, I believe, for 6 heavy weather vessels. So I might be getting that a little bit off base, but yeah, they ordered a new fleet of vessels that are going to be replacing 1950s era vessels that are going to be able to do search and rescue operations in rough weather. So they placed an order for them. I believe that it said that they're going to be ready around, I think, 2027. Anyway, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, on his first day in office, President Trump issued an executive order to establish the U.S. as a global leader in rare earths, Now, a South Carolina-based company has developed the first magnet made in America in 25 years. We are loosening the chokehold China has on this critical sector. South Carolina led the way, and the U.S. is taking back control of its supply chains.
President Trump got into office January 20th, immediately issued an executive order on rare earths, and here we are, it's November, and I have this to take back to the Oval, to President Trump. This is the first magnet made in the U.S., I believe, in 25 years. In 25 years. So rare earth
That's
magnet
pretty cool.
problem, we're on our way to solving the Chinese chokehold that they have.
It's wild, man. We don't even make magnets anymore.
Facility here in Sumter, South Carolina. They started it 18 months ago. The state of South Carolina, Governor McMaster, was fantastic. They said it took them 8 weeks to get permits. They couldn't believe how fast it was.
Nice.
And
very nice.
This is President Trump's all hands on deck for this national security emergency.
All hands on deck, man. Cutting regulation. What is it for every one regulation that the federal government is putting into place? They're slashing like 30 regulations in order to get rid of all that red tape. All right, from the U.S. Marines, for 250 years, the world has come to know us by many names, but the one that echoes with unwavering strength and determination is Devil Dogs. The Marines stationed across the globe commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Marine Corps, honoring a distinguished legacy of service, sacrifice, and unwavering fidelity to both the nation and fellow Marines.
Over 250 years. We've had many names. Leatherneck, Jarhead, Jyree, the Standard. But there's one name, bestowed by our enemies. It depicts an indomitable fighting spirit. That we're ready at any time to go anywhere for anything our nation needs from us, with only one objective: to win. The name is a warning across time to anyone who stands against us, so they're not mistaken when they encounter a devil dog.
Damn, dude, that was a hell of a video. 250 more. The Marines. Hell yeah. Come get you some. All right, so I'll move on to the Travel State Department. In the Philippines, Typhoon Uwan Feng Wong is forecasted to bring strong winds and heavy rainfall to several regions in the coming days. Current projections show the storm hitting central or northern Luzon by early morning November 10th. As a level 5 typhoon with winds exceeding 115 miles an hour, which is a life-threatening storm. High winds may damage structures and cause widespread electrical outages, leaving some areas without electricity or basic services. U.S. citizens should follow local guidance, including evacuation orders. Those who choose to remain in the storm's path should prepare for life-threatening winds and flooding and stockpile food, water, and medication. Storm tracking and updates at this following website, which will be linked below, starting at PAGASA. And there's more from PhilippinesUSEmbassy.gov. Probably not going to give a whole lot more information than it already did, but maybe it will. I mean, it might. So if you got anybody that's out there vacationing in the Philippines or staying out there, any expats or anybody in your family, you might want to get in touch with them, see if they're all right. Okay, so EIA, 3 U.S. regions each produce more natural gas than most countries. And here's the image. So top natural gas production countries and regions in 2023, and this is measured in billion cubic feet per day. The United States is leading the world, and we've got the regions in the U.S. What is that, Permian? Yeah, so we got Permian and Haynesville, which is down in like the Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas area, and Appalachia, which is covering multiple states, all completely covering West Virginia. And Appalachia, that's looks like the number 1 in the country for production, which is outproducing Iran, even China, Canada, Qatar, Australia, Norway. That's wild, man. It's a lot of natural gas. So we've got an article, possibly an article. Well, no, just more of just the imagery with some data below. So if you're interested in looking at all the numbers, that'll be in the description. And moving to the White House, President Donald J. Trump welcomes Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban to the White House. Smile for the press, the fake news media.
There's always a chance, very good chance. Great leader. Come on.
Come on in. Let's get some business done. And speaking of which, the president meets with Central Asian presidents at the White House. I've just completed a series of outstanding bilateral meetings with these leaders in the Oval Office. We're strengthening our economic partnerships, improving our security cooperation, and expanding our overall bonds.
Well, I've just completed a series of outstanding bilateral meetings with these leaders in the Oval Office to discuss our ties with this very important part of the universe. We're strengthening our economic partnerships, improving our security cooperation, and expanding our overall bonds. A tremendous amounts of trade was done just in the last little while. Lots of great products, military products and otherwise, are being bought from the United States. We make the best military equipment by far in the world, and they understood it, really have understood it for a while, ever since I've been in office, where we rebuilt completely our military. I want to thank all of the leaders for being here and for their dedication to a strong relationship with the USA. The nations of Central Asia, known as the C5, sit at the historical and geographic crossroads of the world. These nations were once home to the ancient Silk Road connecting east and west. Great history, tremendous, beautiful history. Today, their location in the heart of Eurasia gives them incredible importance and unbelievable potential. Sadly, previous American presidents neglected this region completely. It's an unbelievable region, and by the way, it happens to be an extremely wealthy region, too. But we are fixing that mistake, and I'm committed to making America's partnership with each of these countries stronger than ever before. I've just...
All right, well, I got more on this. So the president, this evening, I'm also delighted to report that Kazakhstan has officially agreed to join the Abraham Accords. Check this out.
This evening, I'm also delighted to report that Kazakhstan has officially agreed, and that's official now, as of about 15 minutes ago. A tremendous country with a tremendous leader has officially joined the Abraham Accords. And I just want to thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor. It's a tremendous honor to have you. Really great. And this evening, I'm also...
All right. Tremendous honor. You heard it. All right. And moving to Howard Lutnick. This morning, I signed a memorandum of understanding with Kazakhstan's Minister of Industry and Construction, Yurasayan Nagaspayev, advanced a new chapter of cooperation between the United States and Kazakhstan in the field of critical minerals. This agreement will deepen collaboration on exploration, processing, and development, ultimately helping to secure resilient, transparent supply chains for the minerals that power innovation. My thanks to President Tokayev KZ for his vision and partnership as we work together to strengthen our nation's security and prosperity. And there it is during the signing of the very important critical minerals that we need for our AI and our technology, automotive, all that. And from the U.S. Department of Labor, Project Firewall update. As part of our mission to protect American jobs, we've launched 175 investigations into H-1B abuse. Under the President and Secretary LCD Lori Chavez de Remer's leadership, we will continue taking action to put American workers first. The Department of Labor revealed it launched at least 175 ongoing investigations targeting potential abuses within the H-1B visa program as part of its mission to protect American jobs and ensure only necessary foreign workers are employed in the U.S. The Department of Labor launched Project Firewall in September to ensure that employers prioritize qualified Americans for job positions and do not abuse the H-1B visa program, which allows U.S. companies to hire foreign workers in specialty occupations. And this from Secretary Linda McMahon. The Trump administration has secured another transformative commitment from an Ivy League institution to end divisive DEI policies. Thanks to this deal with Cornell and the ongoing work of DOJ, HHS, and the team at the Education Department, U.S. universities are refocusing their attention on merit, rigor, and truth-seeking, not ideology. These reforms are a huge win in the fight to restore excellence to American higher education and make our schools the greatest in the world. New York Times, I think it's a paywall. I think it is, but maybe not. Yep, it is. Of course it is. All right, so let me try the same thing again, and I'll try to copy that title, see if I can grab it from another source. And I'll just open up a new tab. All right, got it. Ha! All right. So, let's try this. Take a look. All right, Cornell reaches $60 million deal with Trump administration. Cornell reaches deal. Okay, so I guess we'll just go with NBC News. Well, I'm not going to do too much digging. So Cornell University said Friday it had reached a deal with the Trump administration to restore hundreds of millions of dollars worth of research funds the government cut earlier this year. The university will directly pay the federal government $30 million over 3 years, quote, as a condition for ending pending claims that have been brought against the university, end quote. Cornell President Michael I. Kotlikoff said in a letter to students and faculty. Cornell will also invest $30 million over 3 years in research to strengthen U.S. agriculture and benefit U.S. farmers. In April, the Trump administration withheld from the university $250 million in federal research funding, accusing Cornell of committing civil rights violations. Quote, the decades-long research partnership between Cornell and the federal government is critical to advancing the university's core mission and to our continuing contributions to the nation's health, welfare, and economic and military strength, Kotlikoff said. Quote, this agreement revives that partnership while affirming the university's commitment to the principles of academic freedom, independence, and institutional autonomy that, from our founding, have been integral to our excellence. The 6-page agreement states that the deal is not an admission of wrongdoing on behalf of Cornell and acknowledges that the university denies ever violating civil rights law. Cornell also agreed to hand over a trove of admissions data to the federal government, broken down by Cornell's individual colleges and schools, race, grade point average, and performance on standardized tests, it states. The university also reaffirmed its commitment to train its staff on a Justice Department memo that instructs universities to disavow diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Well, I call that a win. The university's president must certify that the agreement is being met each quarter. It expires at the end of 2028. White House Assistant Press Secretary Liz Houston called the agreement a win for the Trump administration. Quote, President Trump has once again delivered a major win for American students with this Cornell University deal, Houston said in an email. Under the president's common sense leadership, academic excellence, merit, and accountability will continue to be restored across America's universities. Education Secretary Linda McMahon, in a post on X, lauded the agreement as another transformative commitment from an Ivy League institution to end divisive DEI policies. And anyway, it goes on a bit longer, so I'll just link that in the description. Let me just check this real quick. So Columbia University said it would pay $200 million to the federal government to restore $400 million of federal research grants the Trump administration cut from the university. Also, Brown University reached a deal with the administration days later, promising to pay $50 million in grants over 10 years to workforce development organizations in Rhode Island. All right, and we'll move on to the next thing. I believe this is the last thing I got from Secretary Doug Burgum. President Trump correctly identified that the greatest threat to our country right now is losing the AI arms race. Thanks to his energy policies, America will lead in technology innovation and electricity generation to power artificial intelligence.
The United States under the Biden administration was shutting down baseload for idealistic reasons and some belief about climate extremism. The real threat to the world was Iran getting a nuclear weapon and us losing the AI arms race to China. President Trump understands that. He's taken action, bold action against Iran with the action to slow down or stop their nuclear weapons production. But on the AI arms race, China's been adding power at an incredible rate. We can be ahead as a country, the United States, in both chips and software. But if they're throwing the brute force of more power, China added 93 gigawatts of coal power last year. Just last year, in 1 year, 1 gigawatt powers all of Denver. That's a coal plant.
Hell yeah.
Every 4 days, China opened up during the last year. So the United States
not good. Not
has
for
got
us.
to get back in the power generation game. We've got to do that to keep electricity affordable for Americans.
I read somewhere that China has almost 30 coal power plants under construction right now, in addition to all the coal power plants they already have across the country. I think it's like 27 different coal power plants that they currently have under construction.
Keep it affordable because it's going to be a key component of advanced manufacturing and physical AI that's coming. But we also need it to power all these intelligence factories so that we can have the intelligence to power our industries and power the productivity gains and all the wonderful things that can come from AI, including everything from curing cancer to transforming education to improving virtually every industry we have in this country. And it's coming very, very fast. United States.
Yeah, I believe he's at the. I didn't honestly pay much attention to the Chiron, but I believe he's in the UAE, in the United Arab Emirates. There's some like energy conference or some like convention or something that's going on there. But all right, but anyway, that appears to be all I've got. So I hope you got some good information from tonight's episode. And just one last quick look at the shutdown: 37 days, 21 hours, 35 minutes, and 21 seconds currently. And if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me if you subscribe. And I'll drop a new show every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, bureaucrats, agencies, and everything else. I also post daily episodes on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. And thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night and a great weekend, and God bless America.